Hi and welcome to another Home Coffee Brewing video with April series. My name is Patrick Rolf. I'm in Copenhagen, but the video that we're about to release now, we're releasing together with Sten that lives in Gothenburg. And we actually met a few times before because he competed in coffee in the Swedish Brewers Championship together with me a while back. So I've been kind of following his coffee journey, and he's going to show us not just one recipe, but actually two recipes, because he has a few different April brewers. So come with me in and have a look and see what he's up to.
So hi everyone, we're on the inside and we're in Gothenburg, which is kind of special because it's where I'm from. And we're about to brew a little bit of coffee, but before that, maybe share a little bit of backstory because we met before a few times, right?
Yeah, so basically we met, I think like 4 years ago.
Yep.
On my first barista competition, where basically everything that could go wrong went basically wrong.
I mean, it was still a good. I remember seeing you compete, and I saw a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Which I think you are living up to now as well because he's continuing to compete. But it was a really solid presentation for someone that clearly had a few things that should have been prepared that maybe wasn't prepared.
No, totally. I wasn't. I didn't even read the rules, and I was like 4 months into my coffee journey.
Yeah.
Basically, so I have like zero experience.
Yeah, which I appreciate though, because there's not a lot of people with the guts to actually go up in a competition. Do you want to share a little bit what kind of motivated you to do your first Brewers Championship 4 months into your kind of coffee journey?
Oh, I would say that what inspired me was probably all the barista final championship videos on YouTube.
Yeah,
I saw when they were competing also in Brewers Cup. I was like, wow, this looks really cool. I really want to do this. So my dream has always been to like, I want to come to the world stage.
Yep.
That's basically what motivated me.
Yeah, which is cool. And I think, we share a similar journey in that, right? Like, I was also hooked on these, I remember seeing Colin Harmon live in Melbourne in the final way back. Stephen Morrissey, when he won in Copenhagen, I like watched that on YouTube or something. And that always really inspired me, right? So I think it's super exciting. And so after Barista, you kind of segued into this. Tell us a little bit about the Brewers Cups and...
Yeah, so basically, I would say at the end of the competition, you just told me like, man, you have potential. You just need more training and more just experience in general.
Sure. Yeah.
So you gave me a very nice kind offer that you could help me in the next competition. So I was like super stoked. I was super like interested in competing once again. And after barista, I moved to Gothenburg and studied full time here in Gothenburg. So I don't really have the espresso setup anymore.
Sure.
So my first thought was just to if I don't have espresso setup, I can still compete in Brewers.
Yeah.
And it's much more easier to train at home and whenever you want.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what really happened.
That's what gonna happen. Fair enough. And then you've been brewing a lot of coffee at home ever since, right?
Yeah, no,
and
totally.
Now you've been competing two times, 3 times?
3 times now.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
And the last result from this year?
Yeah, I came second place in nationals.
Yeah.
It was nice. I in all of the Brewers Cup, I always used April Brewer, and it worked very nice.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Well, what some of the, because now you've done Brewers Cup for a while. What are the challenges? What are the things that are maybe easier than what you thought they would be? Like why do you keep on doing this?
I would say what keeps me on keep doing it is probably the feeling you get when you're on stage and you present your coffee. You can't really get that adrenaline or the feeling anywhere else.
For sure. Yeah.
So that is what keeps me to having that drive.
Yeah.
But other parts that is maybe easier than I thought. Presentation wasn't so hard. As long as you'd remember it, it's just go with the flow.
Yeah. I think that's initially when I saw you in that Brewers competition, I think that was one of the things that was so clear is that you actually enjoyed being up there.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that even very experienced competitors, they actually don't have that connection. They have great coffees, they're great at brewing, but you see them on stage and you realize like you don't really love being on the stage. Okay. I'm sure you love coffee, right? And they're very skilled people, but they're looking at it more as a necessary evil to win. Oh, okay. They're not looking at it as, okay, it's an amazing opportunity to serve 3 people that will listen to you for 10 minutes and taste the coffee in the exact same way that you want to share that coffee, right? That's the way I've been looking at competitions all the time. And I have a similar feeling and vibe there where it's like, it's such a special opportunity to be able to do that.
Totally.
And it's really fun, right?
Yeah, but also for me now when I like study full-time as a student, I can't really work with specialty coffee full-time anymore. So competing has also been like, how should I say, for me to come back to the specialty coffee scene. Yeah. Because that's the only time I more or less come back.
Yeah, exactly. You keep that connection.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if you're not actually working in it.
Yeah, exactly. So by competing, I still have that kind of connection with the specialty coffee scene.
Yeah,
and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I mean, he will win eventually, right?
We'll see.
Yeah, with no doubts. Deliberate effort over time and like actually liking it, it's such a big part of it, right? Then it's just details that needs to be connected. Anyhow, we're gonna brew some coffee. Yeah. You guys see 2 brewers here, which is quite unusual, but we're gonna do 2 brews.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you want to brew like 2 different coffees, same coffee? What coffee do we want to?
So I have a lot of freezed coffee.
Cool.
So it really depends on what you prefer.
Whatever you feel. Like I'm not gonna
go
here and like decide the coffee. You choose the coffee, but tell us a little bit about how you're freezing coffee.
How freezing coffee. So everything started when I both when I saw April's video, but also when Pierre talked about freezing coffee, and it's now become like a trend in Australia. And so I started to think like, oh yeah, I could maybe like start doing it because I have like an overflow of competition coffee.
It becomes a problem.
Yeah, it becomes a problem. You can't really drink competition coffee every day.
Do you have your competition coffee?
Oh no, unfortunately not.
That would have been really nice. But yeah,
I've like spent like the last few grams during the competition. So
as one should, right? Because you should try to perfect your coffee, right? So
yeah, exactly.
If you have too much coffee over, that means you haven't really tried enough.
Oh, okay. Then it's a good indication.
It's a very good indication. Yeah. Okay, but I mean, I say you choose maybe like 2 different styles of coffee.
Yeah.
Or maybe like an interesting question here, because you have the plastic and the very first generation of the hybrid. Would you choose to brew different coffees on the different brewers? Like, is there a style of coffee that you think fits better with the hybrid than with the plastic?
Oh, I would say generally with both of my recipes.
Yep.
Like with my recipes, it's super basic.
Yep.
It's almost April standard recipe.
Yep.
But it's just because it's so easy and also very easy for me to compete with that kind of recipe.
Fair enough.
And all of my recipe I brew at home.
Yeah.
I brew exactly the same during the competition as well.
That's cool.
But I would say the only difference is with the that one is hybrid. Oh yeah. The normal April Brewer. I would say that if I want to do more pours, like 3 or 4, I will tend to go to the normal one.
Okay.
But if I just want to like 2 pours and maybe get a little bit more body from the coffee, I'll just go with hybrid.
You go with the hybrid. And why would you do, let's say, 3-4 pours? What's the kind of coffee you're brewing then?
It really depends, but I would say some fermented coffee.
Yep.
I enjoy it when I do a little bit more pours.
Okay.
There isn't really a good reason, but I just find that I can find a little bit more like flavors from it.
Yep. I would say that it makes perfect sense because a heavier fermented coffee usually have a faster flow rate. So the water goes through the coffee faster. And our classic kind of two pour technique is usually based on a coffee with, let's say, a normal flow rate. So if you have a coffee that all of a sudden brews under 2 minutes with a 2-step pour, then it makes a lot of sense to do more.
Yeah, exactly. But also you can't do 4 pours with like 2 heavy fermented coffee.
Yeah.
What I've noticed that sometimes like super fermented coffee, like the competition coffee I used,
Yeah.
I still did the classic 2 pours.
Okay.
Because when I did 4 or 3 pours,
Yeah.
it just became over extracted or like too bitter.
Too much. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have one very fermented coffee and one not so fermented coffee?
I actually have a coffee from La Negrita.
Okay.
So it's more the fermented,
That's
but
more
it's
fermented,
not.
okay.
But also I got a washed geisha.
Okay.
It's fermented for the 8 hours, but it's
It's still okay.
washed.
Okay. From
Liz Escobar.
nah. Okay.
So Swirl bought a lot from them.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I thought maybe you could.
That would be
it.
super. Should we try both of them?
So I actually tried it today just to see if it still was good.
Yeah.
And you could really feel the difference because Liz coffee was tend more to the washed side, and La Negrita was more to like the fermented side.
Wild fermented stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
I say let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
For sure. Go and do your thing. I guess you have your coffees there.
Yeah, we'll go to the
for
freezer.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We're gonna show you guys details of the freezer as well, right? Okay, on the subject of freezing stuff, I see you have the Paragon also.
Yeah.
Is that something you use?
Actually not, I would say.
Yeah.
Because no, so I bought it like recently. I just tried to use it because I was a little bit interested in like, how will it actually like taste?
Yeah, fair enough.
A great friend of mine, Matteo, who also competed in Brewers, used Paragon during the competition.
Oh, okay.
And I was like asking him like, was it nice? And so he was like, it really depends.
Yeah.
So I was still very interested of trying it, but I haven't actually found so good recipes on it.
It's been a challenge, and I think most of the industry realized that in an espresso format, you're able to detect perhaps a little bit of difference, even though it's not a consistent difference over all coffees.
Yeah.
But within the filter structure of things, it doesn't really make that much of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I would say
on lighter roasted coffees, maybe on darker roasted coffees.
Maybe, but I always drink light roasted. So
that's what I told them as well. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, but so basically with the Paragon, I tried to use it.
Yeah.
Haven't really found like a very good workflow as well. I mean,
it's a bit messy.
What I've noticed is because everything I use at home is just for competition.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that as the easier setup it is, the better it is for competition.
Yeah.
You don't need too much of like
100%.
a lot of different stuff. You just need a good brewer, good coffee, and a good recipe, and then you will perform pretty good.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm all for simplicity.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Yes, but I will start to grind it.
No,
so
go for it, and kind of walk us through. So you have 2 different coffee. Are we doing 2 different size brews, or the same similar recipe or different recipe?
Almost similar recipes.
So how much ground coffee in each?
So I tend to always use 13 grams.
13, okay.
And 200 grams of water.
Yep. Are you then going to grind these coffee differently, or are you grinding it on the same grind size?
No, I'll grind it a little bit differently.
A little bit different. Okay, cool.
Because when I tried it today, I noticed that especially La Negrita, I could grind it a little bit more to the coarser side.
Yep.
On the Sculptor, it was maybe like 13.
Yeah.
And it still tasted like super good.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, with Liz coffee, who was a little bit more washed, it tasted a little bit flat when you did on like 12 or so.
Yeah, you needed to be a little bit finer.
Yeah, exactly.
So Sculptor 078, I think standard version, not the S, or is it the S?
No, it's the standard version.
It's the standard version, yeah. That's a great grinder.
Yeah, it's a super nice grinder.
I'm a fan. It's also a great combination with April Brewers.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
No, for sure. It's our go-to. So in our office, we have, but now we took a lot of the fancy grinders out actually, because this grinder just performs better.
Okay, nice.
So I think for value for money, this is like the...
Yeah, because that was the thing. I was like, because before I used a Wilfa uniform.
Yep.
And after a while, I became super frustrated with it.
Yep.
So I was considering buying a new grinder, and I just looked around on YouTube, and Lance Hedrick just said that this was the best before you go to E-Case.
100%. And I'll say with the April Brewer, I would choose that over an EK every day of the week.
Okay, it is.
So I don't think you don't have a need to upgrade.
Okay,
I think that's like,
that's the end
perfect
game.
combo. That is the end game. Maybe, I don't know, until someone makes something better. Until we make our own grinder, and then that's the end game. Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, but go for it, man.
Nice.
So you have it on 12. Where are you now in grind size? I'm gonna do.
So right now I'm on 12. I'll go to 13 with La Negrita.
Yep. So, how much time do you actually spend kind of trying to figure out a new grind size? Like when you get a coffee like La Negrita, like how many times do you brew this and try to kind of perfect it? Or do you just have a small amount and you don't do so many brews? Or
if I have to be honest, majority of the time when I'm at home.
Okay, can I smell it?
Yeah, sure. I would just say that I try to go to like a decent recipe, not really perfect it.
Yep.
But just to go like, okay, yeah, this is good enough, and I'm fine with it.
Yep.
But obviously, when it's competition time, you need to like perfect it.
Yeah.
But daily use, like during the morning,
you're a bit more casual.
Yeah, I'm a bit more casual because I like to try to keep it fun. For competition, for
Fair
me,
enough.
it's still fun, but it's like a bit more stressful.
Yep.
Because you need to think about all the variables.
Yeah, and I mean, you have a taste description that has to fit your coffee.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's the most difficult part of it, right?
Yeah, not really. Oh.
Because when you're competing at home, there's less of a challenge, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now I accidentally grinded a list coffee at 13.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do then? Are you gonna go with it and maybe adjust something else, or do you wanna do something else, or?
I can keep this one.
Yeah.
And just brew it later.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it's when I freeze the coffee, it's still pretty fresh.
Yep. Yep.
So what I've seen from other videos, you can still have it like over the night. And
For sure. Yeah, no issues. But do you have more of the same coffee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one wasn't like the last.
So this
last
it's a bit of a special story behind this coffee because I've been kind of used it in a way. Long story in the barista, right?
Yeah.
And they are quite interesting. They are quite interesting coffees, actually. Like I quite appreciate them. I met the producer when I competed in the Brewers Championships last time. And ended up actually using one of their coffees. I changed coffees from the first round to the final.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what you did. But
the son, I think, right, competed and he wasn't able to serve the coffee, and he had a bit of a breakdown on stage, and he felt so bad for not being able to share the story of the coffee with the judges. And he was crying, it was quite emotional, everything, right? So after he was done, I said, if I make it into the final, if you let me, I'll take your coffee and then I share it with the judges so that the judges actually get the opportunity to try your coffee, right? So that he didn't feel, because he only served milk beverages. Then he basically stopped. So that he got the opportunity of sharing the coffee with the judges, right? That was kind of the story. Cool.
So now I'll just fill
Go for
a
it.
bit of water.
How are we thinking water? So we're in Gothenburg, so water is pretty good.
Yeah,
Like
so
the base water.
Yeah, no. So generally, I just use the tap water.
We're using tap water.
Yeah, it's maybe controversial in other countries.
In other countries, absolutely. But being from Gothenburg myself, perfectly fine.
No, absolutely, and especially so I have a zero water and I use like Apex.
Yep.
But the thing is, it's pretty frustrating.
Yep.
It's hard to really get a super nice recipe.
Yep.
And especially if you use it like daily.
Yep.
it's not really worth it. It's worth it
gets
for
quite
competition.
expensive maybe? Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
that too.
Yeah.
But for competition, it's absolutely worth it to like pinpoint your water recipe, so it's exactly the same all the time.
You can be more specific.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Very true. Cool, but now we're doing tap water, which is, you're officially the first homebrewing video I made when someone is using tap water.
Oh, it is?
Never happened.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but I also never done anyone in Gothenburg, right? So I think
that's true. That's true.
I think Gothenburg, Oslo, or like Norway in general are two places where you could actually do it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure there's other places on this planet where you could as well.
But not in Copenhagen, right?
Definitely not in Copenhagen.
Okay.
Copenhagen is pretty terrible.
Oh, yeah. The water is super hard? Or?
Very hard. Don't use Copenhagen tap water when you brew coffee. For your machines, for your kettles, for like everything, right? It just breaks down. Terrible. So if you buy good coffee, then use good water.
Oh, okay.
100%.
Okay, nice.
No doubt. Definitely.
Well, then I've been very privileged.
Being in Gothenburg, absolutely. So two Colombian coffees. Do you want to share the varietal on the variety on the La Negrita?
So the La Negrita is I think it's a red geisha, and it's nitro flushed. So that one is Håkan's competition coffee.
Oh yeah, he uses. Okay.
No, it's that one, I think.
No, sorry. This is the Liz coffee.
This is Liz coffee.
and
This is La Negrita.
Yeah. So the La Negrita I used in Athens.
Yeah, and I used it in my first Brewers Cup competition. So I have like a sweet spot for La Negrita.
Yeah.
Because I haven't tasted such a good coffee ever since after that competition.
Yeah.
I always try to find that peak, especially for my like other competitions.
Yeah.
But I haven't found it. So it's frustrating.
I mean, I think Negrita is in general a very, very good producer of coffee. We just use it now to win the Danish Burst Championship. Typica Mejorado. I think one of the things La Negrita does well, and I mean, obviously Colombian coffee, there's a lot of controversy. You have infused coffees, you have co-fermented coffees, you have a lack of transparency when it comes to why a coffee is tasting the way it does. And I think La Negrita has been a farm and Maurizio, a producer that always been very transparent, very honest, very good and consistent when it comes to adapting, let's say, modern anaerobic yeast style fermentations in a way where you could actually taste the varietal in the coffees. You taste all the fermentation as well, right? But what a lot of people don't understand is that fermentation is not a general flavor, right? So if you have a coffee that all of a sudden only tastes like peach, that's not due to a fermentation.
That is probably infused, right?
That is due to an infusion, because fermentation doesn't create a singular specific flavor notes, right? But I think La Negrita, if you want to do very processed coffee, I still hold them as one of the best producers of that in the world.
Absolutely. But also, that's also one of the things that I really appreciate, his transparency. So without naming any names, but some producers that I used before, which, the coffee is super, super good. But they don't really say what they do with
the information and the...
They just say like fermentation or anaerobically. And when you ask them like, okay, so was it like stainless steel in tanks or was it in bags? There's like no info about it. And it's very frustrating as a competitor. Even if you maybe won't use that info, you still at least want to know like what you're like using.
100%, because you want to be able to go up on stage knowing what you're representing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when the second you use it for competition, it becomes a part of your brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a person.
Yeah, no, totally.
So you want to make sure that you know what it is you're doing. Right? Fair enough. So water, we have two different water kettles. But we have the same water. Do we have two different temperatures?
So for both of the coffees, I just brew the same temperature at 93. But the other kettle, I just poured some room temp water and I'm just wetting the filter at room temp.
Yeah, awesome. So we're running the filters with a lower temperature. Yeah. Any specific reason for that?
Not really. It's just both. When I'm like at home, the first thing to do is just to wet the filter, and I can't really wait until it goes up.
Yep.
But also,
it's like the lazy, efficient way to do it.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But also, like when competing, you will wait like 10 or 20 minutes if you're not
after you rinse it.
Yeah, sure. If you're not like rinsing and during the stage.
Yeah.
So that's just been my go-to to just do it in this way.
Fair enough.
And I'm also using April filters.
Yep.
And I'm using the larger one.
Have you ever tried the Seaburst?
Yeah, tried
the collaboration we did.
Yeah, I tried it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
It's good, but I enjoy the original filters a bit more.
Yeah, me too. To be honest, I mean, I like those because of the versatility.
Yeah.
And especially, let's say you do a compulsory round where you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. It could be nice to be able to just switch something out.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think in general, I would also gravitate towards the standard filters.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe it's just because I'm so used to using like the standard April filter.
Yeah.
Because I was so like, I didn't really enjoy when it like the flow rate was super fast. Because my standard recipe is just 2 pours. So when you're doing 2 pours with a Seaburst, it's
just gonna
after a minute
sure.
Your brew is done.
No, definitely.
So, and also pour out the water.
It helps. I think the Seaburst helps a little bit when it comes to the hybrid brewer because it just makes a very uniform and kind of efficient drawdown.
Okay.
So if you do 3 of the hybrids, then you make sure that the drawdown is identical, right? But I also agree that that filter in this basic models, it's just going to be too fast for the style of coffee that we're working with.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of the fast filters came out of a result of this very funky infused co-fermented coffees.
Could be.
Where you didn't really need any contact time to get any flavors in the coffee.
Yeah.
But if you're working with clean, more traditionally processed coffees, you actually need that contact time to get the quality out of the coffee.
But also for me, I agree with you that by having this filter, for example, during a compulsory round, it's very good just to be versatile.
Yeah.
But in general, if you want more like contact time or less contact time, I just tend to change the grind size or change all the other variables before changing like the filter.
The paper filter,
Yeah.
I get that. I would definitely change my pouring style because that will have a big impact on the contact time. Cool. So we're going for it.
Yeah.
So just for let's say the camera, the people watching here. So we're going La Negrita in the plastic.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we're going less coffee. So a geisha, kind of a wash. Do you say like a?
Yeah, I think
depulped and then put into some kind of fermentation for
48 hours.
48 hours. Yeah. Okay. Which one can debate? I think that's an interesting conversation. Is that then really a wash processed coffee?
But that's the thing, because isn't like a lot of washed coffees also some kind of way ferments?
Yeah, I think here it's a gray zone because especially in Colombia, some producers, let's say you do the classic, let's say kind of open concrete or like tile pools almost. Where usually as a farmer, you let the coffee, like you pick the coffee, maybe you depulp it, you put it there, you pick coffee for 2-3 days, and you put the coffee in the same kind of container, so to speak. And then the coffee ferments there, right? But it's an open environment, usually in lower temperature because there's water involved. And the temperature at these farms are maybe around 20-24 degrees Celsius. Or it could be a fermentation where you put that in a closed environment.
Yeah.
You know, in a bucket, in a bag, in a stainless steel container, and then it's maybe a different terminology, right? But I think that sometimes is a bit unclear, and I think, as you said before, that's where we want transparency from the producers, right?
You want to know if they like have it in a plastic bag or in
stainless steel. Because it makes a difference. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Based on smelling this coffee, I would say I would be surprised if this was not a closed fermentation.
Okay.
So I would assume that this style of fermentation has been done with either in a bag or with the lid closed off. So like a lower amount of oxygen in the fermentation.
Is there like a difference when you like ferment it in stainless steel tank compared to like plastic bags? Like in the cup quality?
It really comes down to what you do with the stainless steel tank environment. What that does is that you can pressurize it and you can temperature control it in a very efficient way.
Yeah.
You can't do that in like a Grain Pro, or it's a lot more difficult to do. You can do it in a plastic bucket.
Okay.
It's a very similar environment. But it really comes down to if you add additional things in that fermentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and also depends on how you use it.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So 13 grams in both
13
of them.
grams in both.
Yep.
So
Negrita a bit finer. Coarser, sorry. 13.
13.
And then 12.
That one I actually do 11.
11. Okay. So quite a lot finer. Yeah, cool.
So finer, but it's still not like super fine. Because
for sure.
Yeah, because I still tend to enjoy coffee when it's more of the coarser side.
Yeah.
I think it's get a little bit more cloudy when you go too fine.
Oh, for sure.
Which is maybe perhaps why I don't really like the super fast filters.
Yep.
Because you need to go super fine. Sometimes it also becomes a little bit cloudy.
Which is my issue with it as well, because grind size is not just about strength. It's deciding what you're allowed to extract from the coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
And even then, if you get the right, let's say, TDS or strength of the coffee, what you have extracted out of the coffee is different from if you had a coarse grind.
Yeah, no, totally.
Awesome.
So I will do 2 different kinds of recipes.
Yeah.
For La Negrita, I will use a 4-pour.
Yep.
So it's almost like a April standard recipe. So you still implement circle pour and center pour.
Yep.
But you just divide it to 4 different kinds of sections.
Yeah, cool.
Meanwhile, for the hybrid, I will almost use a standard April recipe.
Yep.
With 100 grams on the first pour, close it, and then another 100 grams.
Okay.
And let it sit for around a minute.
Around a minute?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's try it.
Yeah, cool.
It'd be cool to see how he does 2 brews at the same time also.
Actually,
or are you doing them one by one, or are you doing them at the same time?
I was thinking about doing it at the same time. But
that's more pro, I would say.
I would just say it's more efficient.
Yeah.
What I was thinking
it's more efficient. Okay, so you want that.
Yeah, because you'll do a bigger pour here.
Yep.
So next time you pour, I just think about all the times between.
Smart. Yeah. That's a competition thing, right? If you have competed, you'll think about that.
I just think I'm too bad at scored in this point.
I mean, we for sure have a lot of aromatics.
Yeah, no, totally.
Out of this coffee. So on the just go for it. Go for it. On the subject of freezing coffee, do you think it has any impact on the coffee? Positive, negative?
Yeah, I would say some of impact. I've noticed the flavor isn't exactly the same.
Yeah, okay.
Compared to like when it's like totally fresh.
Yep.
But I would say that it's still pretty close.
Yep.
That I would still be satisfied.
Okay.
Because it would be even worse to throw the coffee away.
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of good enough, and it's better than the option of throwing out the coffee. So 35 seconds, you're closing the valve and you're doing that second pour. Cool. And 35 seconds here as well. And is that a classic because you brew 3 coffees in 35 seconds? Yeah. So 35 seconds is what allows you to basically do all 3 coffees with this style of pouring at the same time.
Yeah, but sometimes I even go for 40 seconds as well.
Yeah, sure.
Just to have some margin between each pour.
Which is smart, yeah. Yeah, that's a challenge. The second you go closer to 30, because I find when I do single brews, I do 30.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it tastes a little bit better. But it's really no way with our pouring style to run that conveniently in a competition.
Yeah.
So here you do 40-60, 40-60.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. And then this sits?
This sits for, I would say it can sit to up to 40 actually. 140.
Yeah, 140, okay. So pretty classic, how we would use it as well. Then you open the valve. And then you finish that last pour. So pouring structure and timing is very similar on both, pretty much. It's just obviously the difference in the breakdown of the pulls, but also then the total brew time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, both of these coffees would be very, as you already mentioned, like very traditional competition coffees, right?
Yeah, no, totally.
Like you can, I smell the coffee, right? But
But
in a good
they're not
way.
infused.
No, and I think, I mean, important conversation, right? I think it's sure, we can reference the fact that there is a category of coffees referred to as competition coffees. I think, makes sense. Fair enough, right? But they are a difference within that category, right? And I think you can almost, sure, now you have infused coffees that are also, let's say, transparent in that, which I do actually respect.
Yeah.
Because my issue with the coffees, I don't like them from a sensory perspective, but my issue was always linked to we don't know where the flavors are coming from. Yeah. And people think it comes from something it doesn't come from, right? That's been my biggest controversy with it, right? But there's also this category of coffees where you have the complexity of the coffee. And I think, again, La Negrita is one of those, right? It's sure, it's wild, it's intense. It's not what I would drink on a daily basis. But you taste the varietal. It cools down, it changes the structure, and you have different attributes in the coffee, which I appreciate.
Yeah, but it's also, I would say, the cup quality is still very good.
Yeah, sure.
So even if it's like very heavy fermented, I would say that it's more in that way that it enhances the flavors more than it's just like tasted like rum and raisins and vodka.
Yeah. Fair enough, but you don't want coffee to taste like.
Yeah,
no, I agree, and I think the main thing I'm looking for in a producer in almost every single category is, and I mean, again, we're not talking infused here because that's a different thing, but I want to work with coffees, drink coffees, taste coffees where the producer, the roaster, and the brewer has been very deliberate in their process.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right? And I think with La Negrita, he makes his coffee taste like he wants to, and he's very consistent with it, right? Whereas other producers that do similar styles of fermentations are seemingly very random.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
So, cups. Classic competition cup, I'm assuming. I can see that both from the color, but also from our good friends at Origami, which we really like. Shout out to them. They do a lot of cool stuff.
But so the reason why, so I have like 3 of those.
Yep.
But the only reason is just that I really enjoy cups that you can hold it.
Yeah.
Especially
like
during the competition.
Yep.
Because before I used like handmade ceramic mugs that you can like hold it.
Yep.
Just like this and not with this handle.
With the handle, yeah.
And with some coffees, especially when you serve it in hot, it's very easily to burn yourself.
Yep.
And I don't really enjoy it. And I've always been scared that the judges will say, like in the score sheet, burn my hand. Yeah. -1 point or so.
No, 100% it matters. I think I really like mugs myself, right?
Yeah.
Cool. How do you want to do this, dude? Like, do you usually smell the coffees, or how do you normally
smell it a little bit?
Go for it. Tell me a bit about what you're getting and maybe what the differences are, and if you let's say have a preference between the two. So they smell quite different. I want to say without saying too much.
Yeah. You can almost like smell it that this is the La Negrita one.
I think very much, no? Yeah. Like it has this classic...
It has like a lot of tropical fruits.
It's a lot of like tropical... It's very yellow-orange, which was like the definition of my competition coffee. You have this kind of peachy quality to it, 100%. You have this, let's say, mango passion fruit.
Orange blossom, maybe?
Orange blossom sensation to it. It sounds like I'm doing my barista. Which is also why I used it, right? I think, and I mean, it served me pretty well as well.
Yeah. But I would say...
I think this smells better.
You think this one smells better?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I say I actually think that this one smells better.
So?
Yeah.
So we're disagreeing here.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I just think this is a bit cleaner.
Yeah, no,
this
totally.
This is very floral.
Yeah.
Which I quite like. Also quite orangey. Little bit of maybe like violet sensation to it as well, which I kind of like. It's just less of that ferment, maybe.
Yeah, no, totally. So this
Both smells good.
Yeah, but that was the reason why I picked this coffee, just to have this contrast.
Yeah.
Even if it's fermented, it still tends to go to more to the clean side.
Yeah. What would you use in a competition if you get to?
I would think I would use the La Negrita.
Use La Negrita.
But it's for a lot of reasons.
Yep.
Both I have a sweet spot for La Negrita.
Fair enough. Good reason also.
So it's maybe more sentimental for me.
Yep.
But I would just say that it's easier to find those flavor notes as well.
Yeah.
Because I tend to feel that it's hard to find really clearly find the flavor notes in a lot of washed coffees.
Yeah. I mean, that's also why in terms of competitions, why we don't see traditional washed coffees perform as well as other coffees. It's because taste descriptors is such a big part of your competition, especially in brewers.
Yeah.
And if the judges are not able to clearly be able to recognize it, then that's going to reflect on your scores, right? That's why we're in this infused coffee mess in the first place.
Yeah.
It's people that wants to get a perfect score because they're tired of judges disagreeing with their taste descriptors.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it all comes from. Who roasted these coffees?
Swirl.
That's Swirl, yeah. Now the Swirl roasted this, but not the La Negrita. Or the La Negrita also.
The La Negrita was Café Pascal.
Café Pascal?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Café Pascal, Stockholm, pretty much opening their own new roastery space soon. I saw on Instagram.
Yeah.
Big announcement. Swirl, still in Falkenberg.
Yeah, they are.
I want to say, yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of cool kids, I'm not sure if they're kids, but they had this coffee cart.
Exactly. They have almost like an OG coffee van or car where they serve their coffee.
Yeah.
And after a while, they started to roast the coffee as well.
Yeah.
So now they're full-time roasters.
Yeah.
They don't have the van anymore, which is a little bit sad.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah. That's cool. I was just happy that the southern part of Sweden got some new quality roastery out there.
Yeah, but Swirl is absolutely one of my favorite roasteries here in Sweden.
That's cool.
I think
mine too. I mean, to be fair, they started with, I think, a very nice, clean lineup of green coffees, and they're falling down the same fermenty world as
they
as
still
a lot of other roasteries.
have a lot of fermented coffees.
Yeah.
But I would say that they're one of the roasteries that doesn't have too over fermented punchy coffee, which I still appreciate.
Yeah. What would you say are the main kind of flavor notes in that coffee?
It has a very high acidity.
Yep.
Oh, I'm actually very bad at flavor notes.
Nah, okay. Has that been a challenge when you've been cooking?
That has been my biggest challenge, actually.
Okay. We would help you with that.
Okay, thanks, man. No,
you need someone
that is actually a secret.
Yeah.
Because during the stage, obviously, you have it looks like you have...
It sounds like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. I think
but I'm allergic to a lot of stone fruits. And I'm allergic to flowers. So floral notes and stone fruit notes, I have a super hard time.
You have actually no idea of how they actually taste.
Well, now it's a fine line for me now.
Okay.
Because when I eat, for example, apricot or peach, I get super itchy.
Yeah.
For maybe an hour or 2 hours.
Okay.
But now, before the competitions, I still bought some peaches and apricot just to see. So it was worth it.
Okay.
So now I actually know. Yeah, no, it won't.
Okay. That's good.
It's just irritating. So I never eaten it before when I was yet younger.
Yeah.
So I don't have those memories that a lot of people has with a lot of fruits.
That's interesting. Huh. And obviously a challenge as well, right? But I think in competition, it's always so helpful to have 1 or 2 people there to help out with that description initially, right?
Yeah.
So high acidity, bit of stone fruit, bit of florality. It does show a little bit flat. It shows a little bit agey. It's I can expect we can get more vibrancy in the coffee.
Maybe a little bit more green tea grassy
maybe ish. A little bit on the light side from a roast perspective.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. It is the thing, right? You can roast the coffee too light, just so you know. Like sometimes roasters are just. Also, I think, like as a Scandinavian roaster, you're sometimes a bit afraid of developing something a little bit more because you want to be in this very light category of things. But every coffee is different.
Yeah.
Every coffee needs to be approached a little bit differently. Colombian coffees are notoriously bad when it comes to aging. They're very unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yep. La Negrita, not so much. But I think the level of ferment really helps kind of the stability of the coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so, like, do April also use like color analyzer just to see that it's not underdeveloped or so?
Yeah, I think it's hard. You can say in very basic terms, you can use color in that way, as in there's color numbers that are very high. So if you go, the higher you go, the lighter the coffee, right? The lower you go, the darker the coffee. They are numbers, you know, if you have 140 on an Actron, probably that's going to be very underdeveloped. But it's hard to say from coffee to coffee. I think you can have some coffees that shows up as a little bit underdeveloped at color numbers that makes perfect sense. Yeah. So development of a coffee is so much more roasting wise than just the color.
So in the end, it's still like a sensory part that is super important.
100%.
You need to like taste it and
100%.
To really determine it.
Numbers are I like to think that we're quite specific, and we're gathering quite a lot of information about our coffees. Yeah. And I like to think that they help us and guide us in some degree, especially roast curves, I think, by now. But we also know that there's so much more that we still don't understand. And sometimes the numbers are looking great, but the coffee isn't tasting the way it should. Okay. Yeah. And that goes to green coffee measurements, roasting measurements. So it's always going to be a sensory thing. Yeah. Always.
No, but that's also what I noticed. So right now I'm working part-time on Gringo. Yeah. I didn't know if I said it before.
Like 20-second pitch. What's Gringo for the people that
Gringo, basically, is co-owned by Johan Ekfeldt, one of the OGs in Sweden. Yeah. He started Johan and Nyström, and
fairly big.
I think they like pushed specialty coffee a lot here in Sweden.
100%. I think they were almost.
They were like one of the first
ones to try to like. Obviously, in a big, they did Robusta. They did everything right, but I think they really paved the way for the specialty coffee scene here for sure.
Yeah. So right now, Johan isn't working at Johan and Nyström längre. He's started his own company and co-owns with 2 other people, which is called Gringo. So there's like a small micro roastery, which they still sell like everything. They sell like
Mosun Malabar. I can see like, interesting copies on their offering list. Yeah.
But when I like ask them, because we still have like always one infused coffee. And a lot of like anaerobic and a lot of washed. So I like ask them like, why do we have this? Why do we have this broad of like a spectrum? And for them, it's just like, it's fun to have everything that everyone can enjoy something from it, which is a nice vision.
I mean, I think both like Gringo as Johan and Nyström, I think they always, they're very respectful of that there is a lot of different people in the world. They like to drink a lot of different coffees, and I think they're focusing on catering at very high quality across the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
They're more like, okay, but we respect that people like to drink different coffees. April is more, we like these coffees and that's what we want to share with you, and then we're very happy when you like it. Yeah. It's a bit of a different perspective, but
absolutely.
both are valid and necessary.
No, absolutely.
Awesome. What are the main kind of attributes you're getting here?
On the La Negrita?
Yeah.
I would say that you find a lot of tropical fruits.
Yep.
Maybe some strawberry.
It is a bit red. I was actually about to go that way as well. Maybe I would be more in like mango category. Like it's almost going strawberry, but it's
but
still
it doesn't feel like super ripe mango. It's like a little bit before.
It's a little bit woody mango, I would say.
Yeah, it's almost like the Swedish mango and not the Pakistan honey mango.
Yeah, so the bad mango. I want to say, No, but it's still nice. I think it's still, again, you taste a little bit of the age in the coffee, I think. But it's sweet, it's balanced, it's a well integrated.
But that's the thing. What I feel like with freezed coffee, so it still has all the good qualities.
Yeah.
But for me, what I found that it still tastes a little bit aged, and maybe it's just because I freezed it during the wrong time.
Yep.
Like I let it sit outside for too long. I don't really know, but I've noticed that a lot of coffees that are freezed tends to have like a little bit aged flavor.
Yep. I think there's a lot of conversations about let's say vacuums. So when we freeze at April, because we're building up a reserve menu now or a limited menu, and we're vacuum sealing everything.
Yeah.
We find that makes a big difference. Freezing temperatures makes a big difference as well. So how low do you actually go, and how fast
it goes to that
do you go, right? So you can go like blast chillers and stuff like that.
Liquid
it's a
nitrogen.
little bit too hardcore. Yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of stuff, right? But it's still kind of a bit, it's in a way, it's unknown territory. I think it's something that people are looking more into now, but we don't know everything about, right?
Oh, okay.
But really interesting to try, and I think both coffees are still coming out really nice.
Yeah.
They're two very, very, different experiences. Yeah. Different brewers, different coffees, a little bit different everything, right? Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Which one would you prefer to drink?
100% this.
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, I think the kind of greeniness, the herbaceousness, you're right. And I think that shouldn't necessarily be there. That can be worked out from a roasting perspective. But it's just a lighter, cleaner coffee.
You generally tend to like clean, light coffee, right?
Yeah. That's what we go to in April pretty much always, right? Which, to be fair, is getting more and more difficult because I think a lot of producers are focusing on experimental processing and they lose track a little bit on the basics on the farm. The sorting is of lower quality. We notice across the board, so stuff like that. There is a few things, right? But
you can take the last one.
Can I?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
I'm a terrible guest to finish it. In Sweden, we don't do that, right? Anyhow, this has been awesome. I think this is a good time to kind of wrap it up. Long video this time, 2 different brewers at the same time, which is kind of a new thing. We're always really curious to hear what you guys think about the videos. Is it nice to see 2 different recipes in the same video? I think it kind of is. It's more fun to taste more coffees.
Yeah, it's always nice to have that contrast.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe more fun to brew more coffees also, right? Yeah, awesome. So as always, we want to thank you guys for watching. We have Patreon, we have all of these stuff. Subscribing, commenting, sharing is always really nice. So we very much appreciate it. I know you guys should have some questions on this, so we're just gonna be waiting for them. And big thank you for letting me come here.
Thank you for coming.
Nice. It's kind of a full circle moment here, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure to hit you up for next year's competition.
For sure. Man.
Don't worry about that.
I appreciate it.
Then we'll go for the winner. Yeah. Thank you very much. We want to give a special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. It's because of you that we are able to continue to make these videos. And we want you all to feel free to always come with suggestions and ideas on the content that you want to see because we are doing this for you and because of you. Thank you from all of us here at April.